welcome to the video. In today's video, we will be discussing what liberalism meant for people in different sectors in Europe. In the last video, we had learned about the lives of aristocracy and the peasantry of the European population and what led to the rise of the new middle class. Let us take a look at the topics that we will be discussing in today's video. What was the meaning of liberalism? What was political liberalism? What was economical liberalism? What conditions were barriers to attaining economical liberalism? When France abolished the monarchy and achieved becoming a constitutional country, it gave hope to many other European countries. They had been under king's rule for centuries, but now they wanted to be free. Do you know that the word liberalism is derived from the Latin root liber, that means free? This is why the idea of liberalism had started floating around. Now, for different people, liberalism had different meanings. Let us understand this in detail. The early 19th century was when the new middle class rose and they had different ideas for liberalism. For them, it meant freedom for the individual and equality of all before the law. Even though people wished for equality before the law, it did not stand for universal suffrage. Suffrage meant the right to vote. During the French Revolution, when the National Assembly was elected, it was voted only by active citizens and not the whole of France. These citizens were granted voting rights because they owned property. Men without property and all women were not granted any political rights. There was a very brief period when the Jacobin government was ruling when any men above the age of 21 got the right to vote, but even then, women were excluded from these criteria. Throughout the 19th and early 20th century, women and non-propertied men organized opposition movements demanding equal political rights. So, political liberalism meant electing a government of consent where everyone got a right to choose irrespective of gender and property rights. Moving on to economical sphere. The people had a different meaning for liberalism. It stood for the freedom of markets and the abolition of state-imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capitals. Let us understand this with the help of an example. In the 19th century, Napoleon's government created 39 states out of countless small German-speaking principalities. Each of these had its own currency, weights, and measures. So, if a merchant who was traveling from Hamburg to Nuremberg to sell his goods would have had to pass through 11 custom barriers and pay a customs duty of about 5% at each one of them. So, these conditions were considered as barriers to economic exchange and hindrance the growth of business. This new middle class had grown because of the industrial growth, so they argued for the creation of a unified economic territory so that they didn't have to pay customs on every state barrier and the movement of goods could be unrestricted. In 1834, a customs union or Zollverein was formed, which was an initiative of Prussia and was joined by most of the German states. This union was able to abolish tariff barriers and reduce the number of currencies from over 30 to 2. This was all about how liberalism and different meanings of people in different sectors of life and how did they achieve their liberalism. Students, I hope you've understood the meaning of liberalism in this video. We will meet in the next video and we will study something else, which is something about this Europe situation when Napoleon was defeated. Till then, take care, keep learning, and yes, stay blessed.